Cain Show begins in 1 minute.
One, get out of jail free card. Everyone's now seeming to think they can somehow assassinate their own reputation, and then come back and go, wasn't me. Can Jake Tapper, can CNN, can The View, can Whoopi Goldberg get a get out of jail free card? Two, can California be redeemed with the recent candidate for governor of California, Steve Hilton? Three, well, I don't know. We're going to have to ask two-a-days. I can't remember what we're doing in story number 3. It is the Will Cain Show, streaming live at foxnews.com on the Fox News YouTube channel and the Fox News Facebook page every Monday through Thursday at 12 o'clock Eastern Time. Please remember to subscribe on Apple or on Spotify, and if you feel so deserved, and we probably don't deserve it, shooting out of the gates today, leave us a 5-star review. 2 days. What are we doing in story number 3? We're doing our top 5 sports movies, something like that.
Top 5 sports movies. It's been a big topic around the office here today.
I am going to get dizzy looking at Tinfoil Pat's fan spinning around the ceiling. I mean, good Lord, man. It's, they do that thing in TV, like don't wear striped shirts. It gives you, what do you call that? It mores. The lines move.
Yeah.
So that's the least of Tinfoil Pat's concerns.
I have to stand up for the gravity.
He's playing injured today.
So bad.
Here on the Will Cain Show.
I feel so bad.
Yesterday, Monday, Tinfoil Pat checked himself into the ER with kidney stones.
Brutal.
According to most data, the second most painful thing in life, second only to childbirth. How are we doing?
I'll say the first.
Yeah, well, you have direct experience, yeah.
Say.
Yeah, you've had a kid. You can compare the two.
That's tough, bud. How you feeling?
I'm here.
You're standing.
Yeah. Last night I would
Now,
have been able to
have
make
you
it.
passed the stone? Have you passed the stone?
No.
Okay, it's somewhere rattling around inside your kidney or urinary tract.
It's working its way down. Yep.
So terrible. But why is it every dude, when somebody has a health malady, we're like, oh man, I'm sorry. And then when you find out it's kidney stones, you're like, but then it's also funny. It's like your buddy when he's skateboarding down a big hill and he gets the speed wobbles and he crashes and he gets strawberries and road rash all over his body. You're like, oh, I know that stinks, but you can't help but laugh.
Yeah.
Why is it we laugh at our friend's kidney stones?
Because it's not, it's going to pass. It'll, he'll get through it. But it's also just like one of those things that you just have to get through those. Ugh, I can't even think about it.
I mean, I hope I never have it. I've had buddies have them before.
Knock on wood.
And I hear horror stories, Patrick. Is this the worst thing you've ever been through physically?
I've been through a lot, so. But yeah, I think it's up there.
Was it Vietnam? What are you talking about?
Arthritis. I don't think
If
I was
anyone
going to
is
make
just
it last
now,
week. Universal.
Joining us, tinfoil Pat works 13-hour days. He suffers from arthritis. He once fought in Vietnam.
Works through dinner.
And now, he's being afflicted with kidney stones, which is real. And that's a deal. Last question for you on this before we move forward. What will you do with the stone once it passes?
Oh.
Will you keep it? Will you fish it? Will you fish it out? Will you jar it?
Well, I'm having to go in like a container, so to keep it. So they want to be able to test it or something. My wife says I can't keep it though, so
put it in a jar off camera so we could always have it right there.
And I told her you got to keep all the kids you had, so I don't see why this is any different.
Have you named your stone?
Not yet. I have to see how many we have.
I don't think you could say that on air what you're going to name it. So,
do you have more than one?
I think it's just one. I'm not sure yet.
Okay, you're not having twins. There was another question I had about. Do they know why? Are you not drinking enough water? Are you super stressed? Like, what are the causes of kidney stones? Isn't it like dehydration and stress and things like that?
Working too many hours.
That's probably it. It's hard work.
Do you drink water?
Yeah, I'd say so. I drink enough. I mean, it could also be hard water. My mom's had kidney stones 4 times, and part of it's we just have hard water here in Florida, so could be part of it. Mm-hmm. Just calcium buildup.
Mm-hmm. Mm. All right. Well, you're going to keep us surprised day by day on where it is now in his tract, where it is in his system. We want to get a daily kidney stone update. I would actually like it if you wouldn't mind. Would you video when you pass it? Would you go ahead? You can keep it zoomed in on your face. I just want to see, or at least hear,
Kidney Stone Watch 2025.
I'll take pictures for you.
I want to hear the
dime for size.
No, I want to know how bad it hurts. So I need to hear how bad it hurts. Yeah, I need to hear it.
I'll do my best.
It's all projection, which I hope remains projection for me. Theory, abstractions. I don't ever want to deal with this, but I am curious.
Good luck, buddy.
He talks about how bad it is. So, yeah, we wish you the best of luck. Please videotape your pain. All right, let's get to it with story number 1. Day by day, the news cycle is now driven by a revelation that we've all already known. It's as though we were reporting that the sun rises in the east with breathless revelation, and yet now we get the biggest skeptics on earth to admit that it actually does rise in the east. Day by day, we get new information about the cover-up of Joe Biden's frailty, which encompasses not just his mental acuity, but also his what appears to be really late stage, perhaps terminal cancer diagnosis. And yet, as we mentioned, every day there's new reporting and new eyes opened. Here is Whoopi Goldberg on The View.
There has always been a mass trust issue because politicians, media, nobody does what they're supposed to do. Now, I say, for me, listen, he's 83, so he's a little stumbly, he's a little rumbly. I can't point to anything that he's done as that he did.
No, but that he was running for his next 4 years.
Yeah. But I'm saying, I want, not you, but I want somebody to tell me, well, when did you know it was bad? If you knew, why did you wait?
Yeah, well, we should have known that exactly at the time, but we did. That's the other thing. We did know. Everyone with any credibility, and by the way, it should be stark now who deserves your credibility. When you tune into somebody like me, you're going to say, oh, Will has his opinions, or perhaps he's not completely objective. Well, my form of objectivity is honesty. That's how I see things. I'm going to be honest with you about my opinions. I'm going to be honest with you about my biases. And you're going to be able to account for those. And I'm going to subject my opinions to rebuttal and different points of view. But what has totally been burned is the idea of credibility for those who tell us they only tell us the truth and that they are objective. There's nothing left. That house is burned down. You don't build it back up. It doesn't need a new roof. It's down to the foundation for people like CNN's Jake Tapper, who now with this reporting is basically asking for, as much of the media is, a get-out-of-jail-free card for what they did for 4 years, because they've now written a book with revelations about the cover-up of Joe Biden's decline. Tapper was on NPR, and he was asked about why Biden thought he might be able to win in his current status and condition. How could he win the race for presidency in 2024? And this was this, I think, is actually a fascinating revelation.
Do you think this decision is made if Donald Trump isn't the opponent looming? Do you think there was a convincing of he has to beat Donald Trump and therefore we have to position him this way?
You know, they will say that the threat of Donald Trump made it so he didn't really have a choice. That being said, just given what we've seen of their actions and how they acted after the debate, I think he would have run anyway. I mean, I think... he
spent most of 2023, him and Donilon, President Biden and Mike Donilon spent most of 2023 convinced that Donald Trump was going to jail. Convinced of it.
Convinced Donald Trump was going to jail. Which, again, by the way, was something we talked about, the attempt to win an election through lawfare. And that's another one of the list of things that people have dismissed as conspiracy. And you can say, oh, that's not an admission of the usage of lawfare to take out a political opponent, but it was Joe Biden's DOJ pressing forward and special prosecutors on many of these issues. And he was convinced of what would be the outcome until the Supreme Court announces on most of these cases that they're either meritless or the President of the United States has immunity. That Joe Biden thought he could walk into the presidency because Donald Trump could be taken out through extra democratic means, anti-democratic means. It's just another nail in the coffin of the talking point that you were subjected to. This talking point is dismissive. It's like mind manipulation propaganda that Donald Trump represents a threat to democracy. There are people still walking the streets today who believe that, who willingly buy into the authoritarian line and still run with it today, all based upon this political maneuver to suggest someone is a threat to democracy, all the while representing themselves as anti-democratic in the Democratic primary, and their willingness to win based upon lawfare, their commitment to stay in the race based upon anti-democratic processes, the replacement of Joe Biden with Kamala Harris, which was anti-democratic against the will of the people. They, to the extent that it was an honest primary, chose Joe Biden to run. And we put this up yesterday on the Will Cain Show at 4 p.m. on the Fox News channel. Donald Trump has almost taken a sympathetic tone towards Joe Biden and said, I blame the people around him. And it's true. Like, we ran a list of everybody. Those people could not have been ignorant of everything going on with Joe Biden, and they covered it up. And that list includes his doctors, his wife, his children. Speaking of children, this is what Jake Tapper now has to say about another thing that was waved away, Hunter Biden, and how much influence he had and his corruption that was covered on places like Fox and dismissed on places like CNN. But now here today is Jake Tapper.
How big a factor was the Hunter stuff?
I think it was considerable. I think Hunter was driving the decision making for the family in a way that he was almost like a chief of staff of the family.
Does that strike you as pretty bizarre?
It's bizarre because I think he is provably, demonstrably unethical.
Oh, gosh. He goes on from that cut 2 days. He says unethical, corrupt, of low character. Katie Couric, who's doing the interview, goes, wow, tell us what you really feel. But he said all kinds of really condemning things about Hunter Biden, and then talks about the influence that Hunter Biden had in that administration. I mean, he talks about that he was one of the most, he might have been the leader of the family, according to Jake Tapper. And then we get to the cancer diagnosis, which I think is one of the biggest scandals in, I don't know, half a century. I mean, to cover up. Now, we talked about this yesterday. There have been presidents that cover up their health maladies. JFK had what is it called? What is it? It starts with an A. Not Addison's disease. It was a life-threatening, life-crippling disease that he hid from the public. He also wore a back brace. He had a horrible back issue. FDR covered up his heart troubles the last couple of years of Ronald Reagan's presidency. Addison's disease for JFK. Ronald Reagan's last couple of years of presidency. But the difference is Joe Biden was seeking re-election, hiding that from the public, everything he was doing, including what appears to be now a cancer diagnosis, prostate cancer, that doesn't metastasize into stage 4 bone cancer in 100 days. That's something that has been talked about. For example, you guys are familiar with Scott Adams, creator of the Dilbert cartoon, and a thinker on the right who just in the last week announced he too has prostate cancer. Watch.
Some of you have already guessed, so this won't surprise you at all. But I have the same cancer that Joe Biden has. So I also have prostate cancer that has also spread to my bones. But I've had it longer than he's had it. Well, longer than he's admitted having it. So my life expectancy is maybe the summer. I expect to be checking out from this domain sometime this summer.
You know, can we take just a moment? Tinfoil Pat, I know you're a big fan of Scott Adams. And let's just acknowledge Scott Adams has played cartoon creator, but in the latter stage of his career, a real thinker, a content creator, a prolific user of X and that video as well as on Rumble. And many people are taking some time now with this news to talk about what an integral role he played in not just Donald Trump, but guys like Scott Adams in repositioning the thought and policies of much of the right. And I know you're a big fan, Tinfoil. What would you say about Scott Adams?
I mean, you know, I have many Scott Adams books. This is Reframe Your Brain. A lot of the way I think comes from the way, you know, he's presented himself. And, you know, Akira the Don had a whole album with just one of his talks on X. And he was really crucial in helping get Donald Trump elected in 2016 and changing the entire way we think of politics nowadays, because he understood how Trump was thinking, and he understood how Trump presented himself, because he's a master hypnotist. So he understands a lot of how these persuasion techniques work and things like that. So it's
he's contrarian. He's a deep thinker. He's not always right. He's admitted to some things he was wrong about, but it was always a worthy thing to listen to Scott Adams, somebody that over the last decade has covered himself in earned credibility while we've watched the torch, you know, the blowtorch taken to the credibility of most of mainstream media that today wants to act like investigative sleuths towards something that you knew, that we all knew. And while we'll get nuggets out of this and we'll get anecdotes, but we're getting it from the same people that basically assassinated their own reputations, assassinated their own credibility. And you don't get to come back. You know, none of us are protected from being wrong. Scott Adams was wrong at times. I'm wrong at times. But that's different than running cover for political purposes and purposely telling a lie. And that's what we're going to have to remember today as these people tried to get that get out of jail free card. All right, can California be redeemed? Steve Hilton is running for governor of California, and he joins us next on The Will Cain Show.
It is time to take the quiz.
It's 5 questions in less than 5 minutes. We ask people on the streets of New York City to play along. Let's see how you do.
I'm having what she's having. It's a quote from a 1989 film starring Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan. Name the film.
E.T. When Harry Met Sally.
You got it. When Harry Met Sally.
Either way you did, you can always try again tomorrow. Take the quiz every day at thequiz.fox. Then come back here to see how you did.
Thank you for taking the quiz.
It's Rachel Campos-Duffy. Join me for Fox Noticias, a show that breaks down the news of the day with a focus on the kitchen table issues that matter most to our community. Politics, the economy, immigration, and cultural trends. Weekdays at 4 p.m. Eastern on Fox Deportes and available at noticias.foxnews.com, the Fox Noticias YouTube page, and Fox Nation. Or listen and follow the podcast at foxnewspodcast.com or wherever you get your favorite podcasts.
Stay on top of the latest forecast with America's Weather Team in the palm of your hands.
Here's the latest from America's Weather Center.
It's Fox weather updates throughout your busy day, every day.
That heat's going to be out there for one more day.
Temperatures being 30 degrees above average.
Put the power of over 100 meteorologists and the worldwide resources of Fox in your hands with the Fox Weather Podcast. Precise, personal, powerful. Subscribe and listen now at foxnewspodcasts.com.
President Grover Cleveland had secret surgery for mouth cancer on a yacht, but told the public he was on a fishing trip. I think the historical examples of presidents hiding their health from the public doesn't, in fact, give Joe Biden a pass, but highlights exactly how bad and how far they went in this scandal. It is the Will Cain Show, streaming live at foxnews.com, on the Fox News YouTube channel and the Fox News Facebook page. Hit subscribe at Apple or on Spotify. Steve Hilton is the author of Califailure, Reversing the Ruin of America's Worst Run State. But he isn't just writing about it. Now he's running as well for governor of California. Hey, Steve.
So great to be with you. How you doing?
I'm good. I know you were sitting in the on-deck circle listening as we talked about this scandal over Joe Biden, and I know you have thoughts.
So, first of all, there's one specific thing, the specific detail of this story that for me captured how outrageous of a scandal this is. And actually, it's not in Jake Tapper's book. This week we knew about before, came out last year. And remember, I've worked inside of a government. I was senior advisor to the Prime Minister of the UK, David Cameron. I've seen what it's like right at the top of an administration. It was reported last year that Joe Biden, as president, more than on one occasion, his meetings, internal one-to-one meetings with senior officials in his government, including the defense secretary, were scripted. He had scripted meetings, not like a press conference or a public event. This is just internal conversations. That is unimaginable to me. That is so outrageous. We clearly had a puppet president. There's no other way of putting it. And this whole, he had good days and bad days. When you're the president, you can't have bad days. You can't go in and out of lucidity and capability. It is totally outrageous. This is a massive scandal. We had a puppet president. We need to know who was pulling this, who was writing those scripts, right? Who was actually directing the business of government. It's just unbelievable. And of course, you're right to say that we all knew and were all saying it for years before. I mean, I remember before the 2020 election, right? On my Sunday night show, we would have, it was so frequent, his, obvious decline, that we turned it into a weekly segment. And there was always material. We called it the Joe Biden comedy segment. I mean, look, it's not funny, but like every week there was something. So it's just outrageous. And I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the right next step is, because it seems to me there has to be some kind of accountability for this. It's not just a story. It's not just something we should get angry about. This can't happen again.
The power of story, Steve, is to make and create and help public awareness. Right. And so the purpose of story is that we don't make these mistakes again as a people, so that viewers, listeners, voters are more skeptical to people who have burned their own credibility, so that when they come out there in mass, both elected officials and people in the media, and tell you this is the best Joe Biden ever, that the president is sharp as a tack, that you look at those people and what they ask of you in the future with mass amount of skepticism. But you're right. There has to be more than simply asking the consumer to be more skeptical as a purchaser. I'm using an analogy there as somebody who walks into a store. Because if I go into a store, Steve, and I'm defrauded on a sale, I do take some personal responsibility and think the next time I'm in a store, I'm going to be more critical of the pitch. But that doesn't preclude the salesman from being prosecuted as a fraudster. And everybody wants to see accountability, Steve, like you point out. And there are multiple levels we're asking for accountability. And there are multiple levels. And we're asking for accountability on Afghanistan. We're asking for accountability from the former DOJ. And now we're asking for accountability from the shadowy people that are running from who are running the United States government. But my hardest thing is, Steve, and you kind of alluded to this, I don't know how we're going to accomplish accountability.
Yeah, I don't know. Because, I mean, it's easy to say, prosecute, do this, do that, have an investigation. Okay. But there has to be an actual crime, right? We believe in the rule of law and the Constitution. So, I mean, what is that? I don't know. That's not my field. But I think that we have to push this to the limit of what is legal and constitutional in terms of demanding accountability, not just let it drop. And actually, all of this reminds me of a broader point, which is there was Megyn Kelly made this point brilliantly in her conversation with Jake Tapper. I didn't hear the one you just had. I mean, that's even more offensive when you hear Jake Tapper now saying, oh, yeah, we all knew Hunter was corrupt. Well, excuse me, when we were saying that, it was called a vicious personal attack on someone who's lost his son. Do you know what I mean? It's just so offensive to me that they're now saying what we were saying all along. And actually, it's not just this issue. On so many issues, we literally at Fox, we're almost the only people telling the truth on issue after issue, on the border crisis, on the crime wave going on in our cities, on COVID, both parts of COVID, the destruction and cruelty of the lockdowns and the origin of the virus. I was the first on television to lay out the evidence that it was Fauci's research that led to the pandemic. I was accused of conspiracy theory and all the rest of it. Now everyone agrees. We shouldn't have locked down the schools. But when we said that at the time, they said we were putting people's lives at risk. We were the only people who told the truth on so many issues for so long.
Totally correct. And one of those issues, by the way, and one of those people who need to at least be held publicly accountable in the minds of the voter, of the consumer, is the state of California and the governor of California, Gavin Newsom. Now, he is not running he is term limited in California, mercifully. But that doesn't mean California is going to make a wiser choice. They haven't made many wise choices over their recent history. You are running to try to give them a choice of wisdom. You are running for governor of California. And the question is, can California be redeemed?
Yeah, it's the question. My answer is yes, it's not going to be easy, but it's not impossible. And because it's not impossible, we have to go for it, because we can't just put up with, our biggest, for me, the most beautiful and magnificent state in our great nation, just slipping further into decline and stagnation, which is what's happening right now. I mean, we talked about this before when I discussed my book, Califailure, but, on every single measure, pretty much that matters to people, California is the worst performing state in America. We have the highest poverty rate, highest taxes, highest cost for rent, housing, electricity, water, you name it. The lowest income growth, the highest unemployment most of last year. It's a real disaster. And you have Gavin Newsom bragging about how we're the fourth biggest economy. And that's true. Statistically, I mean, you can quibble over whether we're now the fourth biggest economy because Japan went down rather than California going up, but whatever. It's a fact. I'm proud of that. I want California to have a big economy, to be successful. But it's not enough to be big. It has to be good. It has to work for the people who live here. And California's economy is a disaster for the people who live here. A recent survey showed that 35% of Californians cannot afford to meet their basic needs. Businesses are leaving. People are leaving. We can't, it's the heartbeat of our economy in many ways, and it's just being really badly crushed. So the question is, can we turn it around? For me, the ingredients are there, right? You saw it last November. You saw 10 counties in California flip from blue to red. Trump got more votes in California than any presidential candidate in a generation. You got the DAs kicked out and mayors kicked out in the Bay Area and Los Angeles. You look at the way that the Latino vote, which is now the biggest group in California, that's shifting nationwide towards Republicans. The working class vote shifting to Republicans. The ingredients are there. But for the longest time, it seems to me, Republicans in California haven't put up a really strong fight, haven't really said, you know what, you can do this. It doesn't have to be like this. We can be better than this. Here's our positive, practical, common sense plan to turn things around. And that's the point of my campaign. And the theme of it is golden again, because it's the golden state. We all know what that means, the California dream. It's like an amazing thing. In many ways, it captures the essence of the American dream. And that's what we need to get back to. Honestly, I've been on the road now, 3-4 weeks? There's massive energy out there. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's going to be possible, and I'm determined to do it.
To your point on the California economy, the fourth largest economy in the world, I consider that for Gavin Newsom a natural resource, not unlike the Pacific Ocean or the Sierra Nevadas. You inherited these beautiful natural resources. What have you done? What you've done is take those things that you've inherited and literally driven people out of your state. Listen, Steve, I'm a born and raised Texan. And if you're listening right now and you are a born and raised Montanan or Arizonan, you know that your state is full of refugees from the state of California. And people welcome Californians that come with the right mindset and are coming for the right reasons to places like Montana or Texas. But when I was growing up, Steve, although I'm a born and raised Texan, I wanted to go to college in California. And I did. Yeah. I applied to USC. I went to Pepperdine. Ultimately, I went to Pepperdine. And of my age, and I think this is an interesting conversation, Donald Trump won the presidency not just on policy, but we'll never underestimate the power of policy, but he also won it because he tapped into the culture. He shifted the culture, but he also saw a pent-up demand in the culture. What I'm getting at here with you, Steve, is culture. When I was growing up, California was cool, man. Like, everybody wanted to go to California. It was a place where things were happening and you could happen, and whatever that means. It's not just mean waiting tables till you become a movie star. It was, yes, music and movies, but it was tech, and it was everything. It felt like the coolest place that you could go. Yeah. And I'm telling you, Steve, it doesn't feel like that anymore.
100%.
It now feels, honestly, it kind of feels like it's Texas. I see all these California kids. You know, I wanted to go to USC or Pepperdine. Now these California kids want to go to TCU or Baylor. And there's got to be, I love the golden age, there's got to be a reinvigoration of what it meant at one time to, in a positive light, to be Californian.
This is 100, you absolutely nailed it. That is the whole point of what I'm saying. That's why I wanted to call my campaign. It's called Golden Again, right? And I talk about this the whole time. I mean, I moved here with my family in 2012. So this is my new home. I feel at home here in a way I never did in England. My parents are Hungarian. They were refugees from communism. So I know what it's like to go in search of freedom. And I feel like I've to the place that should be the absolute heartbeat of that. And the essence of all the good things we think of as the American spirit. And when I talk about this, as you know, like California should be the means to America what America means to the world, right? Innovation and energy and optimism and ambition, all those cool things. But there's one other phrase I always use, which is the rebel spirit, right? There's something about just California, like the rebels and the pioneers, they crossed the Sierras to get here through incredible difficulty, built this amazing place. And that's been crushed with this ridiculous, bloated, nanny state bureaucracy from the government here that's telling you how to live and what to do and what car to drive and what kind of, you can't own a single family home because you all have to live in apartments like it's North Korea, and you can't cook your food the way you want because you can't have a gas stove, and all this like BS endlessly telling people what to do. That is not California. It's not cool. And so restoring that spirit, I think, is what this is all about. But from a policy perspective, that means cutting back like massively this ridiculous, bloated, bureaucratic government, because that's what's really crushing everything. When I'm on the road, I talk to families and business owners, small business, whatever. Anytime you ask people, where's the pain coming from that's making it so difficult to do anything here, to live here, to raise a family, to run a business? It's all these agencies and bureaucracies churning out this nonsense all day long. And the good news about that is that the governor runs that. You run the executive branch. So you can really get to work chopping that back and restoring California to its glory.
Well, here's hoping you can recapture the golden age, golden California, cool. All right, you brought up refugees for a moment. I thought of you when I thought of this story. mentioned your parents who were refugees from communism, refugees from Hungary. We talked about Californian refugees. Donald Trump has welcomed in, at this point, something like 59 refugees from South Africa.
Yeah.
Now, this led to some very interesting exchanges on Capitol Hill yesterday between Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Senator Tim Kaine, who seemed to press Rubio on the administration's, in his mind, racist openness to bringing in white refugees from South Africa. I found it pretty fascinating. Rubio said, you're the one bringing up race. And to my knowledge, Steve, America has welcomed in refugees from all over the world. They've welcomed them in from Latin America, from Afghanistan, from Somalia. But it isn't until they welcome them in from South Africa that the eyebrows are raised from Democrats.
I know, it's amazing, isn't it? Like, you can be, we're open to everything as long as it's not white people, because white people are bad. It's just, we got enough white people in America. We don't need any more. It's just so ridiculous. It's very serious what's been going on there. And I have direct personal experience of it, not in South Africa, but very close by in Zimbabwe. It used to be Rhodesia. And I had an ex-girlfriend many, many years ago in England. And she was, her family were farmers in, back in the days when it was Rhodesia and then Zimbabwe. And then they experienced the exact same brutal assault from people in Zimbabwe in that case. But it's exactly the same thing that's been going on with many farmers, and particularly farmers in South Africa. It's really, really bad. And of course we should be ready to welcome refugees from that kind of violence. It's the same language that you use when the Democrats have been defending the open borders. Oh, people suffering persecution and violence and whatever. Yeah, that's exactly what's happening to some of these people. So it's a total double standard, of course, driven by race.
Yeah. Coming up at 4 o'clock today on the Will Cain Show on the Fox News Channel, we'll be speaking to one of these refugees, one of these Afrikaners from South Africa. We can hear directly what's been happening there when it comes to land confiscations and violence in South Africa. I want to also ask you about this while we have you today here, Steve. Tulsi Gabbard told us at the time that she had been put on this quiet skies, no-fly zone, government air marshal watch list under the Biden administration. She was on with Laura Ingraham last night, as Senator Rand Paul has confirmed. That's exactly what happened. And she told us last night with Laura Ingraham when it happened and what she thinks is the reason she was put on this list. Watch.
I think they were trying to intimidate me, but also they were trying to really create this chilling effect, probably knowing that I wouldn't stay silent about it and send a message out to people that if you go and criticize then Vice President Kamala Harris, who is now going to be the Democratic nominee for president, you too would face the consequences. And I am not the only person, by the way, under this Quiet Skies domestic terror watch and surveillance program that was targeted for political reasons.
I look back on this, Steve, and I'm like, what did she do? What did she say to be put on a list?
It's absolutely disgusting. Tulsi's a good friend of mine. And the thing that is so clear about Tulsi, amongst many wonderful qualities, she's an unbelievable patriot. She loves this country. She joined the military. The idea that she's a threat, it's so obscene. And this whole thing is obscene. And to someone who's, my family experienced communism, this is exactly the kind of authoritarianism, totalitarianism that you get in regimes like that, where enemies of the state who step out of line are just, quietly, silently punished. I mean, it's what you get in China with the, whatever they call the social credit scores. If you say the wrong thing, suddenly you find you can't travel on, you can't buy a train ticket. This is what happens in regimes like that. The fact that it was happening in America is so disgraceful. And again, you can't just let it slide. We need to find who made that decision. How did that happen? Who approved it? Was a political person at the top aware of it? We need to get into all of that.
Yes, under the banner of defending democracy. Well, Steve Hilton is outside. Looks like he's at a public event today amidst his run for governor. He's coming to us live via a Starlink, which we appreciate the technology and the time as he makes his run for governor. Steve, great to always talk to you. Thank you.
Fantastic. Great to be with you, Will. Thanks.
All right, there you go. Steve Hilton, candidate for governor in the state of California. One last note on, will we get accountability? It's not only the likes of Steve Hilton or Will Cain asking for this accountability. It is also the likes of Charlemagne the God. Here he is on The Breakfast Club.
I'm interested in the Biden stuff because Jake Tapper's book Original Sin comes out today, which I'm looking forward to reading. And this book talks about his inner circle and how his inner circle kept his mental decline and health diagnosis from others. So I think they announced President Biden's prostate diagnosis to get in front of that book.
Some of the other stuff that's coming out.
And whatever may be in that book. And I'm looking forward to reading it because I want to see if people like Jake Tapper, hold themselves and their networks like CNN accountable for how much they didn't report on. Because they're all complicit in not calling a thing in regards to President Biden.
It's what we all need. We need accountability. And actually, this conversation is part, together here, you and me, it is part of that accountability. Top 5 sports movies. This isn't going to be easy. And I'm afraid it's not going to be popular. Next on The Will Cain Show.
Stay on top of the latest forecast with America's Weather Team in the palm of your hands.
Here's the latest from America's Weather Center.
It's Fox weather updates throughout your busy day, every day.
That heat's going to be out there for one more day.
Temperatures being 30 degrees above average.
Put the power of over 100 meteorologists and the worldwide resources of Fox in your hands with the Fox Weather Podcast. Precise, personal, powerful. Subscribe and listen now at foxnewspodcasts.com. Did you hear the news? Now you can. With instant updates from Fox News for Amazon Alexa. Breaking stories and top headlines, the economy, and so much more. Brought to you by Fox News, America's #1 cable news network. Plus, setup couldn't be easier because everything's ready to go in the app. Just say,
Alexa, play news from Fox.
In Fox News.
It's the latest when you need it, on demand, from Fox News and Amazon Alexa. From around the world,
Trey Yingst, joining us from Tel Aviv, Israel.
To Washington.
I'm Mike Emanuel.
To your own backyard. If a story impacts you or your wallet, we're on it. It's the Fox News Rundown. We give every story the deeper look it deserves with must-listen interviews and smart analysis from the voices you can trust. Start your day with the Fox News Rundown. Listen and follow now at foxnewsrundown.com or wherever you get your favorite podcasts.
Top 5 sports movies of all time. It is the Will Cain Show, streaming live at foxnews.com, on the Fox News YouTube channel, on the Fox News Facebook page. Hit subscribe at Apple, Spotify, jump into the comments, and you are a member of the militia. Bringing Tinfoil Pat and Two-A-Days Dan. This is Dan's idea, and it is not going to be one. When you do top 5 lists, sometimes they're boring because there's too obvious of a consensus. I have a feeling that's not going to be the case today. I have a feeling all 3 of us might have different movies. I have a feeling you're not going to like mine, including number 1. But let's do this. Let's start with a little brainstorming session, okay? You don't have to hold back your top 5, and you don't have to list your top 5. I just want an all ideas are good ideas moment here on the show. I want you to say movies in case I forgot them. So let's just take things out of our pocket. Let's take movies, like I'm just going to reach in my pocket here. I'm going to pull out Moneyball. I'm going to put Moneyball on the table. Let us never forget Brad Pitt and Moneyball. Michael Lewis book. Great movie. Did it make the top 5? Let's take other movies and put them on. What do you guys think? I think both of you are big fans of Remember the Titans.
Big time. Remember the Titans is up top 5 for me. Absolutely.
It's a great movie.
Yeah.
What else? What do we got to throw into the pile so I don't forget?
Well, I'm a big fan of the trilogy, The Mighty Ducks.
I mean,
Okay.
that's
Best
elite.
trilogy of all time.
That's elite. Very elite for millennial years.
So that's 3 of your top 5? The Mighty Ducks trilogy. Gordon Bombay, Oscar.
I got a one that might not be put up there because it's a little bit of rom-com, but For the Love of the Game, Kevin Costner.
I think Kevin Costner. When 3 girls from the same friend group end up in the homecoming court, and then they divide the vote, and none of them win, and a dark horse steps in. You're like, oh, how'd she win? It's because everybody else divided the vote.
Yeah.
Kevin Costner and baseball movies almost in a way, undercut one another. But on their own, they're all really good.
Yeah.
Bull Durham, obviously, Field of Dreams. But you're right. I do think an underrated one of Kevin Costner's when it comes to baseball is For Love of the Game.
Another one, Rudy. I mean, I'm a Notre Dame fan. That's huge for me. That is definitely top 5, Rudy.
I was going to say I watched it in the last 6 months, and it holds up solid.
Does it? See,
Yes.
Rudy didn't even make my brainstorming session because it's taken on. Yeah, I know, man. And I'm not saying I'm right, but in my head, it's taken on so much corniness. Like, I think of Rudy now, and unfortunately, I think of corniness. And I don't know why. I don't know if that's Sean Astin and, like, the unbelievability of him being a defensive end.
Vince Vaughn.
But, you know, I just... I don't include it. Here's one. Okay, and there's some categories I'm into. I'm curious what you guys think of this movie. It didn't make my top 5, so I'm not burning material here. But The Wrestler, starring Mickey Rourke.
I don't think of that as a sports movie. I mean, it's wrestling. I get it.
Really?
It's athletic, but yeah, I don't really think of it as a sports movie. I think like baseball, golf, that kind of thing.
I mean, you just made an entire world of wrestling fans, including Tinfoil Pat, incredibly upset.
I know.
But it's such a quality movie. And one of the things that I noticed when I started to make this list, for those of you that are going to be upset with me, it's not going to include, for example, Talladega Nights. And I've talked to you about Talladega Nights. And here's the thing about it. It's hilarious. And I've watched it on numerous occasions. But for comedies, for me, if it gets a little worse every time I watch it, then I forget how much I liked it the first time. And there's two different kinds of comedies. There are those that get better every time I watch it, a.k.a. The Big Lebowski, and those that get worse every time I watch it, and that's Talladega Nights. It gets a little more slapsticky, punchliney, and corny, and so therefore the jokes don't hold up over time. Go ahead, Tinfoil.
So does The Big Lebowski count as a sports movie since they have that bowling scene? Yeah.
Obviously, you're not a golfer. I had a couple of categories that I thought about. These is a category of movies that is not going to be on my list, and it is because of my age. And it's going to be all of our ages. But if you look up top sports movies, it is going to be, if you look up a top 150 list at Rotten Tomatoes, littered with movies that were just before our time. Now, if we go back into movies like in the 40s and the 50s, a bunch of big boxing movies that, honestly, you and I probably haven't even heard of. I'm talking about pre-Rocky, pre-Raging Bull, right? And those movies, I'm sorry, are just a little too old for me at this point. Like, I can't indulge. But the 70s had a bunch of football movies that I haven't seen and I'm curious about. And I feel like maybe they're not 100% too dated. So that's movies like The Longest Yard, the original Burt Reynolds Longest Yard.
Not Sandler.
North Dallas 40. Heaven Can Wait with Warren Beatty. And this, football movies don't do well. You're not going to see on my list, Any Given Sunday.
Love that movie.
And I don't dislike it either. I like Any Given Sunday. It just doesn't reach top 5 material. But I feel like the 70s went all in on the football movie, and I want to go back and give some of those a shot.
What about...
Any of you guys seen any of those?
What about...
Longest Yard, North Dallas 40?
I have. What about Brian's Song is a good one, too.
See, I never saw Brian's Song.
It's fantastic. Yeah.
But also, for the record, I have a little bit of an aversion to sports movies that are simply vehicles for a bigger story or societal issue. So if your sports movie is about race relations in the U.S., you're going to have to be really good because that's been done over and over. And Brian's Song's about cancer. I get it. But it kind of turns me off. When do I want to watch a sports movie about cancer? When I want to watch a sports movie, I want to watch a sports movie. And I think I'm not saying anything bad about Brian's Song.
And I think to your point about comedy sports movies, they're different because when you think of a sports movie, you think of triumph, overcoming some obstacle. That's what you think of a sports movie. So comedy makes it hard when you throw it in there. Like boxing is a separate thing too because you could put 4 boxing movies in the top 10 easily.
Totally agree. That's one of my categories I was going to bring up. So 1970s sports movies. Another category is boxing. And there are movies on top lists that are boxing movies that I haven't seen. And I'm like, oh, I still got to see that one. Like there's one that's on all the lists called A Prayer Before Dawn. And it's about a boxer in a Thai prison. And I'm like, oh, that sounds kind of interesting. I kind of want to watch that movie. And here's another category I didn't include. Documentaries. Any list of best sports movies, it's always littered with documentaries. And there are so many good ones. By the way, talk about wrestling. That's a great category of documentaries. Beyond the mat. I'll tell you another category within the documentary genre. Extreme sports. Like surfing and skateboarding documentaries are awesome, even if you're not in. Even if free solo, mountain climbing, awesome. Dogtown and Z-Boys, skateboarding. Step into Liquid, riding giants, surfing. You don't have to be into those sports to enjoy how good those movies are. So those aren't included as well. And for what it's worth, neither is The Damned United. Really good soccer movie. I'd say watch it if you haven't. Also not included, Friday Night Lights.
Show's better.
Partially because it's better as a book. Every development of Friday Night Lights got further from the truth. You know, you've got the book, then the movie, then the show, which has no relationship to the actual events. Are you serious right now?
No, I'm not serious. I'm joking.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
But Kyle Chandler is fantastic. He is a great actor.
He is.
All right. So with no further ado, here are my top 5 sports movies, according to the Will Cain Show. Number 5, Ford versus Ferrari. One of the most recent entrants on my list. It is rewatchable. Matt Damon and Christian Bale are cool. It's got a healthy and true story arc based upon a real-life characters in Carroll Shelby, who's a fascinating guy in American history. The fashion, the cinematography, and the excitement of sports. I absolutely love Ford versus Ferrari. Number 4, I've seen this movie 1,142 times, starting in my college dorm room. Caddyshack. I don't care if you think it's a sports movie or not, but Caddyshack, and it's a bit dated at this point, is absolutely incredible and worth watching more than once. Watch Caddyshack. Number 3, I guess my top boxing movie, The Fighter. Christian Bale's second appearance on my top 5 list, along with Mark Wahlberg.
I didn't think about that.
I think it's awesome. It's fun. It's drama. It's funny. It's heroic. It's overcoming the odds. Awesome acting by Christian Bale and Amy Adams and Mark Wahlberg. Love The Fighter. Number 2, I don't care if it's cliched. I don't care if it's Disney-fied. And the bottom line is, it's true. Miracle. I love the story of the 1980 U.S. Olympic hockey team, and you could watch a multitude of awesome documentaries about it, but when having been turned into a movie, it's awesome. Miracle. And at number 1, which may come as no surprise, I talk about this movie quite a lot, and is without a doubt a sports movie, is Tin Cup. I love everything about Tin Cup. I love the lessons, which can be encapsulated in this line, in this interaction. It was the greatest 12 of all time, Roy. No one's going to remember the Open 10 years from now and who won, but they'll remember your 12. My God, Roy, it was, well, it was immortal. I love him going for it. And into the water over and over until he gets a 12. I just absolutely love.
It's a love story, though.
There's my top 5. I know. And you know what? In most shows, Sopranos, Breaking Bad, there was a movie I was watching the other day. When they go into the romantic part, I'm like, this is the bad part of the movie. No one wants to see this stuff. But it works. It works in Tin Cup because their relationship is so much a part of his golf journey and him making the final day of the U.S. Open. All right, that's my top 5. What do you guys think? Any big objections? Any big endorsements?
I think it was good. The Fighter was a curveball for me because it's a really dramatic story, and boxing is kind of not the main part of it, really. It's about family, it's about interaction, it's about drug abuse, it's about, So boxing wasn't the main part, but it was really good. Someone's asking, is Point Break considered one?
I don't think so. I think it's a crime heist show.
That's what I thought you were going to go with, actually.
So did I.
Point Break.
I thought you were going to throw Point Break on there. But I like your list. It's a great list. It's a very Will Cain list, to be honest with you.
Do you guys like Tin Cup? Because there's some people that hate Tin Cup.
Love it. That's a top 5 for me. Absolutely.
Really? Good.
It wouldn't be a top 5 for me, but it's a good movie.
Yeah. I mean, Kevin Costner dominated.
Let us know what you think. And it's got Costner. And think about all his baseball movies, and then you add in Tin Cup. Costner dominates sports movies. Don't you think that's fair?
Yeah.
If we were ranking actors in the sports category, he would far and away be number 1. I don't even know who would be number 2. I had Christian Bale twice.
Yeah, Sandler, probably. Just in terms of the number of them, yeah.
No, I'm just joking. But, Happy Gilmore is a great movie that has staying power, but, I watched Waterboy. Not very good.
How much credit do you give Ray Allen as Jesus Shuttlesworth and He Got Game?
That's a good one. I forgot about that one. Damn. I would have thrown that up real high.
Ray Allen. That was Ray Allen before he was Ray Allen.
That's wild.
You know?
Yeah, I forgot about that. That would be top 10, I think, for me.
Really?
Yeah.
He Got Game is top 10?
I mean, I'm from Connecticut. He's UConn, Love Ray Allen.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, drop into the comment section and let us know what you think. What movies did I miss? What are your top 5 sports movies? That's going to do it for us today here on The Will Cain Show. We'll see you again tomorrow, same time, same place. I'll see you next time.